What is up, guys? Pat from Show Me Retro. So today's video is about a topic that I've been wanting to discuss for quite some time. I've actually filmed probably 3 versions of this video over the past year and a half, and I've scrapped them all, mainly because I just didn't like how they came out. It's a topic that may ruffle some feathers in the retro community, but I think it's something that needs to be discussed. So let's not waste any time, let's get into it. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I talk about my age from time to time and how I'm getting older. And I know what you're thinking, but Pat, you don't look a day over 65.
I'm 50 years old.
But it's true, I am what some people would consider old. And in the past couple of years, I've hardly added anything to my collection as far as retro games, consoles, toys, things like that. Now, I do buy the occasional Switch game because I do like to play the Switch, especially in handheld mode. It's just something that I can take to work and play because I don't have much time to play at home. But you might be saying, well, I've seen you do pickup videos in the past couple years. Yes, it's true. I have done a few pickup videos where I show off some really cool, interesting, and sometimes rare items. But the fact is, 99.9% of those things are being sold on Facebook, Mercari, eBay, as well as conventions. I recently, on my community page, showed off this Legend of Zelda digital watch that I picked up, and that's going to get sold as well. I have no attachment to that. I'm not a Zelda fanatic, so there's no nostalgia attached to that. I just do this to make extra cash. You know, I have limited space in this game room, and I don't want it to spill out into other areas of the house. I have a small collection that fits in a bookshelf. It's very modest. There's some heavy hitters in there, but even as small as it is, it's still a lot of stuff. And I keep seeing these retro channels like Metal Jesus, for instance, and they just keep buying and adding from week to week. And it makes me wonder, I mean, no human being could play that many games in a lifetime. And nothing against retro collectors. You know, I have a lot of friends who are collectors, they're having a lot of fun doing it. But for me personally, I think my opinion comes from someone who's just looking at it from a different perspective because I'm getting older. But it begs the question, are you buying these games just to put on a shelf and show off in your room? Or are they really meant to be played? And just because I'm no longer collecting doesn't in any way make me any less of a gamer. But let's be honest, there's no way that I'm the same gamer that I was in my late 20s and early 30s. My eyesight's not what it used to be. My reaction time is not what it used to be. And that's to be expected. I'm no longer playing games on normal and hard mode. I mean, I've lost a step. It's a fact. But one of the things I wanted to touch on was having an end game. And by that I mean having a plan when you have all this stuff, or even just a little bit of stuff, but having a plan of what is going to happen to this stuff if I were to cease to exist. And I can tell you, I don't want to burden my wife and my grown daughters with having to sell this stuff when I'm gone. Now, your situation may be different. Maybe you've got sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, or grandkids that you plan on leaving it to. But I think a lot of people fall into a couple different categories. Some people that at a certain point are going to move on with their lives and get rid of a lot of their gaming stuff. Or they're just going to be like, you know what, I'm one of these people, you're going to have to pry it from my cold, dead hands.
From my cold, dead hands.
And I am definitely in the latter group. But I mean, emulation has come such a long way, and part of my end game would be to move on a lot of these physical games that I have and purchase things like EverDrives and SD card readers for my consoles, because I don't plan on really getting rid of my consoles themselves. My Dreamcast and my N64 were gifts from my wife when we were dating, so I don't plan on getting rid of those. They have sentimental value. But the games themselves, there's just so many ways to play them now, and a lot of times it's better versions. Take Doom 64, for example. I don't need to play that version on the N64. It's so dark. the version on the Switch is so good right now. I can't go back to that, so why keep that game? You know, it just makes no sense anymore. A lot of people, I would hope, are going through this because I feel like a lot of people are kind of getting to that age that I am. And at some point you just have to look back and go, do I really need all of this stuff? And at what point? I mean, in 10 or 15 years, I'm going to be in my mid to late 60s. And is all of this really going to matter at that point? And again, I'm not trying to put down anybody who is just so into collecting, because, you know, I realize that people get a certain feeling from it. They walk into their room and they feel good. But there are times when I walk in here and I just look around and go, I really wish I had less of that, or why do I need this? And, you know, it just doesn't seem to make much sense each day as I get older. And another thing, retro game prices are getting so high, that's just another reason not to keep doing this. Any games that I would actually want to add are in the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. I mean, I would love to have some of these rare Saturn games, but it just makes no sense at like $1,200 for a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga. If I can play Saturn games on original hardware, but with a backup disc or an SD card reader, why not get out while the getting's good? And who doesn't want a return on their investment? I see a lot of these channels, they're like, well, I don't really care, you know, if my collection's worth a lot if I'm ready to sell. I don't really care, you know, it doesn't matter. I call bullshit on that, because everybody wants a return on their investment. You know, if you spend $300 on a rare game and in 2 or 3 years if that game is now worth $30, you're gonna be pissed. Just like if you bought a car and say you spent $40,000 brand new, and then in a couple of years you go to trade it in and they only want to give you $5, you'll be like, what the hell, man? It's got like 10,000 miles on it. Who doesn't want a return on investment? I mean, let's be real.
Come on, man.
So I think having an end game is just very important. Just have a plan for when to get out, unless you fall into the other category. All right, guys, so let me know in the comments what you think about retro collecting, and is it something you're still doing? Has your perception changed as you've gotten older? I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. And as always, if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps out. All right, guys, I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching.
And I like to kick, stretch, and kick.